What is going on, guys? My name is ItsHalvy, and today I am bringing you a video that I have not done in quite some time now, and I feel bad for it, but life happens, so I'm doing it now, and isn't that what matters? So I came across a folder, once again, of comments that I had put into a folder for doing future Q&A, chill chat Q&A, deep chat Q&A, all those types of videos back when I was doing that series a little bit more. Unfortunately, I was never able to get to them. I thought I had. I actually am pretty sure that I made videos on these, but wasn't able to end up getting them uploaded. I just ended up losing them or something. So I figured I wanted to go back and revisit a couple of these comments and these questions and get answers to them, even though I know that a lot of it for the people involved, it might be a little irrelevant now. It's still a good, they're really good questions that were posed. So I figured that I would use these anyways, and if those of you who asked them are watching now, I apologize for the late reply. Now I'm getting to them, and so hopefully it can, help out some people. Definitely, if you guys have any other questions or comments for any type of series that I've done previously or whatsoever, I mean, honestly, any type of question you can think of. So we'll go ahead and get right into this here. The question comes from Hidden Effects, and it says this: Hey, Halvy, love your vids. So I think that I have a tentative ADHD. I did a bunch of tests online, and they all say I have it, but my parents don't believe me. If you don't know what it is, you can search online. I know what it is. Anyways, my parents just think I'm being lazy or not trying, but I really want to go to the doctor to see if I have it so I can prevent it with a prescription, but I need an adult to do so. I'm turning 18 in a year. Should I just wait till I'm 18 to go see if I have it? I don't know what to do because it affects my schoolwork and chores. Please reply. I'll leave the comment on screen for a little bit longer here so that people can see it, but ADHD is something that has been wildly controversial, especially in like college and high school settings, because the prescription cure, not cure, but a band-aid for ADHD is to take a amphetamine, which is essentially something that, cocaine, like that stuff is pretty much like an intense methamphetamine, speed, all that stuff. They have what's called Adderall, Ritalin, something with a V. Anyways, all these different types of pills and medications, but I'm sure Adderall is the most commonly known and most commonly heard of. It's also one of the most, if not the most, abused drug in education campuses or college or high school campuses. It is typically the most abused drug. Why is that? It is essentially a drug that helps people focus, right? And so when you have ADHD of any kind, it is very difficult for you to stay focused because of some imbalances in the levels of serotonin, dopamine, and epinephrine, which is like adrenaline in your brain. So when you have these imbalance of levels and you take Adderall or Ritalin or whatever, it essentially takes these levels that are deficient and brings them up to normal. So most people think that ADHD means that you have a hyperactive. Actually, what it is that you're actually hypoactive because of the chemicals being less than where the neutral average point is that most people are at. When it's low and you have less chemical balance, then your brain tries to make you make up for that by doing other activities. So, for example, multitasking. I want to be doing all sorts of different things at once because by doing all of that stuff, it's giving me enough extra additional serotonin and epinephrine and dopamine to raise those levels up to normal, to where you feel normal, where the levels are at where they feel like they should be. So that's what happens for someone who actually has a brain chemical neurological condition of ADHD. For those that don't, though, when someone takes Adderall or Ritalin or whatever, then it becomes something that is a massive upper, right? So if their levels are already there and then it just it enhances them, then they're just going to have this like super laser beam focus. Oh my gosh, I can do anything. I can stay up for 6 days straight, and you probably will. It's something, though, that is very much so abused, even though it does definitely help people out. But there's been a lot of cases that like people just get messed up and tweaked out on this. So I definitely would not recommend it or advise it for anybody just to do recreationally or to even study for a test unless you definitely need it and you've got a prescription. Now, just because you have a prescription doesn't necessarily mean that you need it, because it's very easy these days to actually get a prescription for Adderall. In other areas, it's very much so commonly distributed drug because, well, why? It makes them a lot of money. Doctors get so much money off of pharmacy and prescription-based drug distribution. Why wouldn't they want to give it to you? If you are, coming to them with a compelling enough reason and they're going to make money off of it, why not give it to you? You want it, and the doctor wants it, so it's a win-win, right? Unfortunately, this has caused a lot of negativity and things, and that's a whole nother story for a whole nother time, which is the dark side of the healthcare industry. I know I get distracted and I go on tons of tangents. I apologize. If you feel that you have this, you've taken tests online, Now, the tests online, there are some that may work and may be like, oh yeah, you're right. But there are also a lot of tests online that may just convince you have something you don't have. For example, if I have like a headache, I'm like, I have a kind of a headache, I'm gonna go on WebMD and check it out. And I go on WebMD, and then WebMD tells me, I type in headache, and WebMD tells me, oh, you most likely either have cancer, heart failure, your brain's gonna die, or you're going to die within 10 days. Oh, and it also might just be a headache from anything up under the sun. Completely common and normal. But there is also a very high chance that you'll have cancer or death. Which I guess ultimately cancer leads to death anyway, so that doesn't really make it better. Point being is you don't necessarily want to trust everything that you read and see through online. So you're saying you really want to go to the doctor, see if you can prevent it with a prescription. That seems completely rational and logical. If your parents are on board with you, though, there's not much you can do until you're 18. I would recommend trying just to get your parents to see it and be like, can you just at least take me in? If they won't do it, then you're 1 year away from 18. Just wait till you're 18. It sucks and you could use it, but it's not that you necessarily absolutely need it. Okay, ADHD can be a problem, much more for some than for others. Just if you have ADHD doesn't mean you can't function in life. You've made it 17 years, you can still do it. So going back on like being diagnosed with ADHD itself, it is something that is not necessarily completely identifiable as whether you have it or not. It's just whether a number of symptoms line up to say adequately that you have it. And if you have these symptoms, it's most likely for this reason, which is the inadequate level of chemical balance in your brain. I was hanging out with one of my roommates, my housemates during a summer. And I had never even considered ADHD or anything like that. We were just like working on some stuff and playing some games, whatever, I don't know. And he ended up just kind of very casually asking me, so what prescription are you on? Are you on Ritalin or Adderall? I'm like, what are you talking about, homie? Like, I'm not on any prescription for anything. And he's just like, well, what do you mean? Like, don't you have ADHD? And I'm like, no. He just looked at me, just kind of, you're joking. I said, no, I'm not. I don't have ADHD. I never have had a prescription for anything in my life and stuff. And he's like, well, you're completely ADHD. And I said, well, no, I'm not. What are you talking about? And, I was just obviously under this own impression that I'm fine. I don't have anything wrong with me and blah, blah, blah. Then he was saying, dude, he started asking me a bunch of questions like, okay, do you do this? When you're thinking of this, do you think of how long, like when you're talking to people, do you have conversations with yourself on the side, all this stuff, whatever. I was like, yes. He's like, then that's pretty much what ADHD is. And I said, okay, so I wasn't necessarily ready to say that I do or not yet, because I always am like, I don't want to have anything wrong with me and blah, 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 whatever. Even when it comes to getting the common cold, I'm like, no, I can get over it, I'm fine. I don't know, I have some sort of complex that makes me feel like I'm never capable of receiving injury or something, or having anything wrong with my brain. So it kind of sat with me for a little bit, and I decided, okay, I'm gonna go talk to a doctor and just kind of see. So I went to the person on campus, and then after that I had to go visit a social worker. There I had to take a test with the social worker, and then from there I had to go see a psychologist. It was a massive process, and it wasn't that fun. But anyways, eventually I realized, like, if I'm gonna be going through all of this, I wanted to know, because if this was something that I could actually get help for in life and it could help my life and whatever, then, why not have that? That'd be great. But I don't ever want to be considered dependent on anything. So I took the test, and when I was talking to my social worker about it, he said it was very interesting. He's like, the first thing he told me was, you don't understand how many people would be very jealous to have your brain and your mind. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I'm flattered, but what does that mean? According to the test that I take and the way that he's interacted with me, he says that most cases with ADHD is very much so a physical ADHD. It is something where you keep, you can't stop, doing things. You'll be reading and then whatever, then off something else. And it's just a very kind of subconscious thing that takes place. He said, what's interesting with yours is that it seems like your version of ADHD is purely mental. Now, I have these physical quirks too. I do a lot of stuff with my hands. I'm a drummer, so I'm always banging stuff. I'm banging the wheel when I'm driving. But what he said was with my mental ADHD, it is that essentially I have so much in my mind's working so fast that I get bored super fast. So when I'm having a conversation with somebody, I'm very much so able to listen, but I'm most often, at least, typically, I am also having a conversation with myself, as well as thinking of something else unrelated, as well as already planning and thinking about how this entire conversation is going. What that does for me is that it doesn't make me like seem, awkward, because a lot of ADHD people are kind of weird and awkward. I mean, I'm weird and awkward, I guess. I don't know what I'm talking about. But it's not necessarily all that. When I come across those, sometimes I can come across kind of standoffish, and I can come across kind of uninterested in people because I've already thought through everything we're gonna say and talk about. And so then I get bored, and so then it's like, okay, let's speed it up. And it's not my intention, it's just that I'm thinking pretty fast ahead of where the conversation is even at the time. So I don't really like taking it all the time and stuff because I feel like it's making me feel more dependent or whatever. And also I feel like I like who I am. I like the fact that I have this crazy mind that thinks really fast, that can, gets distracted and gets bored, because that's what makes me me. That's what enables me to do all of the many different things that I'm able to do in my life. So I enjoy it, but I also know there are times that I need to sit down and work. And essentially the best way I could describe it is that for someone who, if you've taken like Adderall, for someone who actually probably needs it versus someone who most likely doesn't, it has two different types of effects, I think, on people, at least from what I can gather, because everybody who tells me that they've experienced it is very different from what I do. When I take Adderall, I get more relaxed. Everything just seems to kind of calm down, and while there's typically like a bunch of like 6 conversations going on in my head and just constantly thinking, and to the point where I can't sleep because I'm thinking, not even with a phone or anything, I'm just sitting there laying in bed for 2 hours, just my mind going crazy. Instead of that, it just seems that it all kind of just fades away a little bit. It just, like a cloud, think of like a fluffy cloud that comes and sits on my mind and just lets the things that I'm trying to focus on be in the center of it.
I mean, if he waits, then like, what if he actually does have ADHD and that's impairing him from actually
exactly
learning? He should go, like, you just tell his parents, like, yo, I should probably just get it just in case, or get checked.
Right.
Because if he doesn't get the medication and like he actually needs it, then like there's no going back and like,
right.
You know what I mean?
And the longer that you wait, the harder it is to make a case that you need it to a doctor, to anybody, because then it's like, well, you've managed this whole time.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. I don't know why his parents wouldn't want to. I don't really see the downside of not letting him go,
Yeah, I don't know. So that was Tochi, who came in and had his little input as well for you. I don't know where I was, but essentially I'll say this. Try to get your parents to let you go, because there's no harm in doing it. There's no harm in at least checking to see if you have something. The problem, and why a lot of people don't want you to, is because it is something that is abused. Adderall is very much so abused. But if you need it, if you are ADHD, it's not that it's giving you an unfair advantage, it's that it's making you on level with everybody else's capabilities to focus, which is a necessity. It makes it hard when you're in class and you can't learn anything because you're so distracted. Like, it's a good thing if you are able to use something to help you, but if you don't actually need it, then don't go and try to get it. Like, I get it that it is great and might make you feel good, but like, would you go and do cocaine? Would you go and do other drugs or whatever? Just because it is a prescribed drug does not mean that it's okay to use recreationally without a prescription. It does not mean that you actually should be putting it in your body. For example, painkillers, Vicodin, morphine, those things are prescribed by doctors, but if anyone takes it that does not have a serious amount of pain, it is going to cause serious neurological damage, as it has to some people close in my life. Wrecks you forever. So you have to be careful with this stuff. But if you feel like you have ADHD and you want to get checked out, go get it checked out. If your parents won't let you, that sucks. Try to see what you can do about it, but otherwise hold off, wait till you're 18, and then go get it checked out. You may not have it, and if that's the case, that's okay, but a doctor or a psychologist, therapist will be able to help you figure out ways with whatever it is that you have in your head that's making you think you have ADHD, whether it is or isn't, of how to cope and how to deal with it. And it's a great thing. So if you guys think that you have something or whatever, there's no harm in checking to see if you do. If you, at the end of the day, you check and you don't, all right, at least that question's out of your mind now. But if you check and you do, your life could change so much for the better, because you may have never even realized how impactful it would be for you and how helpful it would be for your life in a non-negative and abusive way. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and Hidden Effects, I hope that this answers your question. And anybody out there who is having thoughts or questions about Adderall and ADHD and anything else in general, I hope that this applied to you guys. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and comment down below, as well as a comment of any question that you could possibly think of. I am more than happy and willing to answer. So I'm really enjoying doing these things. This is what I love doing for YouTube, but I am only as good as this series is only as good as the comments that I get that are able to support it. So I have a couple comments and stuff that I've saved that I'll still make for some more, but please be sure to leave comments and questions so I can make more of these videos for you guys in the future, because I love helping and love giving my own input. I just need to hear you guys' questions to know how to do so. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Once again, be sure to follow me and all my social media links down in the description box below. Pretty much everything is ItsHalvy. Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, all of it, it's ItsHalvy. So just look up ItsHalvy on whatever it is, and you can follow me. Anyways, always use this call outs out of the way. With that said, stay beautiful, have a fantastic freaking day, and we'll see you later.